Today, what we're going to be talking about might be uncomfortable for some, definitely a majority of Bears fans, myself included. But today, we have to talk about Justin Fields. Throughout the first 2 weeks of the 2023 NFL season, Fields has not looked good for the most part. Some believe that it's solely on Fields, that he's regressed, and that the Bears should move on from him. Some believe that it's solely on the coaching and that everybody involved needs to be canned, while others believe that it's solely on ownership and they need to go. The correct answer? It's all of the above. We will be delving into all of that in this video. If we can hit 20 likes, I will release a video next Saturday giving my top 5 MVP candidates for the first 3 weeks of the season. If you enjoyed this video, however, and you do want to see more like it in the future, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. With that said, let's get right into it. We'll start off with the man of the hour, Justin Fields. While it was mostly from Bears fans, Fields entered the season with hopes of being in the conversation for league MVP. Chicago traded the number 1 pick in the 2023 draft for Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore, as well as the Panthers' first round pick in 2024. I made a video already talking about that trade when it happened all those months ago, so if you would like to check it out, the link will be in the description below. They have already also acquired Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool and already had Darnell Mooney, Khalil Herbert, and Cole Kmet as skill position players. They also gave Fields an offensive line so he wouldn't put up Will Chamberlain numbers in getting sacked, signing Nate Davis and drafting Darnell Wright with the 10th pick in this year's draft to go alongside Cody Whitehair and Tevin Jenkins. Not expected by most to be a playoff team, Chicago was expected before the season started to at least improve from last season's 3-14 record to build on some of the momentum Fields has accrued during the second half of the 2022 season. There's still plenty of season to go, but during the first 2 weeks, Fields looks lost. As a passer, he has improved statistically in nearly every category in the first 2 weeks of the 2023 campaign, as opposed to the first 4 weeks of last season, but this should be expected due to the amount of help he's been given over the past few months. In terms of rushing, however, he has only rushed for 62 yards on 13 carries, equating to a 4.8 yards per carry, which is really good, but compared to his yards per carry last season and the abilities that he has to running the football at the QB position, an average of 6.5 carries per game is just inexcusable. This is more due to play calling, but we're not at that part of the video yet. I want to focus on his passing a little bit, because while he has improved on that front from the previous season, he still has work to do. A major criticism of Fields over the last year or so is that he's unable to seek out his targets and deliver the ball to them, as well as read defenses. A great example of this was during Week 2 versus Tampa Bay. I'm only going to single out one play in particular. Fields had an incredibly clean pocket with about 5 to 6 seconds to throw the ball, with multiple targets being open for him. What does Fields end up doing? He tries to rush the ball up the middle after a good 5 to 6 seconds in the pocket and gets sacked for his troubles. As someone who has been supporting Fields for over 2 years now, I still can't wrap my mind about what I witnessed this past Sunday. The clip in question reminds me of a glitch in Madden. It doesn't seem fucking real, but of course it is. Fields had a great first quarter against the Buccaneers and had a great drive in the fourth quarter, which led to a touchdown for Chase Claypool. But after that touchdown, it went all downhill for the Bears, as Fields threw 2 interceptions, one resulting in a pick 6 in the end zone for Shaq Barrett. Bears fans have been blaming the offensive line for Fields' blunder in this game, but he probably had the best protection in one game he's had in his entire career up to this point. The problem wasn't the protection. In this game, it was at least 50% on him. His decision-making needs to improve gradually throughout the season and immediately, because there have been a concerning amount of missed opportunities throughout the last 2 games. He'll more than likely have this entire season to turn around public perception of him, but if Chicago somehow has a worse season this year and Fields is one of, if not the biggest reason why, his stock will be at an all-time low. Now we move on to Chicago's questionable coaching. We'll be starting off with Luke Getsy. Getsy is the current Bears offensive coordinator who, after an average year last season, was brought back with all the new additions to the Bears offense to see if he would become their long-term guy. Like I said about Fields, we are only 2 games into the season, but Getsy is perhaps one of the worst offensive minds I have seen in a very long time. Not worse than Nathaniel Hackett. His offense is so uninspiring, bland, and predictable that even Bucs linebacker Levante David admitted after Tampa Bay's Week 2 win over Chicago that it was the same formation. Everybody knew what was coming when Fields threw a screen pass in the end zone, which led to an aforementioned pick 6 from Shaq Barrett. The amount of screen passes called for when it's so easy for everybody, viewers and players alike, to predict what a play is going to be for a sport where you're supposed to be as unpredictable as possible is the definition of irony. How you don't draw up runs for Justin Fields, who just rushed for the 3rd most yards by a quarterback in a single season all time, baffles me. I'm not saying they should rush it nearly as much as they did last season, but one of Justin Fields' main abilities is his ability to run with the football. He's a dual threat, so what the fuck is the point of taking away half of his usage. It's not even like that they're using these wasted snaps to give players like Khalil Herbert, Dante Foreman, or Roshan Johnson more rushes, because the Bears are bottom 7 so far in rush attempts and bottom 12 in rushing yards thus far, and have only one rush to go for 20 yards or more. As I stated previously, there are things regarding Justin Fields that are solely a Justin Fields problem. However, when you try to make him play a completely different brand of football than what he's accustomed to, of course he's going to struggle mightily, especially when they have the poor fucker trying to model his game off of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to say much about Rodgers as a player because this isn't an Aaron Rodgers / Packers / Jets video or whatever. But it's a Bears video and he's your father. Haha, kill yourself. He is one of the greatest arm talents the sport has ever seen, and he is not going to be replicated. So I have no fucking clue why Getsy, a former quarterback coach for the Packers, is trying to mold a dual threat quarterback into a player like Rodgers. I mean, I get it because of where Getsy came from, but it makes no sense at all for the playstyle Fields possesses. Imagine taking Michael Vick, one of the greatest rushers in NFL history, putting him behind a line and telling him he can't scramble, and then trying to model his game off of Brett Favre. Makes absolutely no sense. As much as I professionally despise Getsy, blame has to be assigned as well to Chicago's head coach, Matt Eberflus. He's allowing and encouraging these aberrant plays to happen. He is currently making Matt Nagy look like an all-time coach. Like I said previously for Fields, a lot of improvement is needed this season from Eberflus for his sake of job security, because coaches are the second biggest scapegoat in all of football. Only the quarterbacks. I would say something about Bears defensive coordinator Alan Williams, but I won't say much considering he is no longer the Bears defensive coordinator as of today. All I will say is Chicago has allowed the 6th most pass yards, 2nd most yards per attempt, and are currently 2nd in points allowed. Whoever Chicago brings in will more than likely do a better job than Alan Williams. Lastly, let's talk about the ownership, because they're the ones that ultimately make every decision within an organization. The Bears ownership just so happens to have the worst of that in the National Football League. I'm going to list some numbers real quick that relate to the Bears. 42, the percentage of games Chicago's won since 2011. 39, the percentage of games Chicago's won since 2013. 6, the amount of playoff appearances Chicago has had since 2000. 6, again, the amount of seasons where Chicago has finished over 500, better than 8-8. 13, the amount of years it's been since Chicago has won a playoff game. 18. The number of quarterbacks Chicago has started in at least 5 games in a single season since 2000. Let's emphasize on that last number. 18. Whenever the Bears have struggled in any capacity, the first person to blame is whoever's throwing the ball. And to an extent, there's good reason. There have been 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round by Chicago since 1999, and the only one who has even made a Pro Bowl was Mitchell Trubisky. And the only other Pro Bowl quarterback Chicago was drafted in the first round before him was Jim McMahon, who was drafted in 1982. There's been a constant issue in Chicago for decades, and that's their inability to develop quarterbacks. We've seen it for years and for decades, and no matter who they draft or who they sign, it leads to nothing. Since 2017, people have made a mockery of Chicago not drafting Patrick Mahomes when they had the chance, but if we're going to be honest here, would Patrick Mahomes even be the player he is today if he went to Chicago? When Mahomes got drafted by the Chiefs, he had one of the better head coaches in the league in Andy Reid and one of the more reliable quarterbacks in the league at that time to learn under, Alex Smith. That system was and is tailor-made for quarterbacks. They've had 11 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in their history and have had only 9 quarterbacks since 2000 that have played 5 games or more in a single season, as opposed to Chicago's 18. 4 of those 9 have also played at least 4 full seasons as a starter for the Chiefs. Remember how I said Alex Smith was teaching Mahomes? Mahomes had a full season behind Alex Smith before Kansas City got to start him. Mitchell Trubisky had 4 games under Mike Glennon in 2017 before they were like, yeah, fuck it, here you go. Mahomes has unbelievable talent, but the talent will take you nowhere if you don't have the right people in your ear. He thankfully did. If he had John Fox and Matt Nagy as head coach at the time he was developing in the league, do you think he would have been the player he is today? Fuck no. And it's time we stop pretending like he would have been. If Chicago threw him into the fire like they did with Mitchell Trubisky, he would have been burned to a crisp, shipped off after 3 seasons, and his NFL career would be in shambles right now. I truly believe that. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky was an exceptional player by any means, but he was thrown into the fire with a worse O-line than Fields has today, and Matt Nagy and John Fox as his head coaches, and he was gone after year 4. That's the Chicago way. They get a new quarterback, everyone thinks plugging him into a flawed system will fix the team's issues, It doesn't. People get impatient, they dump the quarterback, and they look to get another. It happened with Jay Cutler, it happened with Trubisky, it'll surely happen with Justin Fields if he doesn't step it up, and it'll happen to Caleb Williams if he has the unfortunate responsibility of joining the team because they will more than likely get the number 1 pick in this year's draft class as well. You know that Wendy's commercial with Caleb Williams? That'll be him in a good 4 years if he gets drafted by Chicago because he has the exact same issues Justin Fields had, and that's the player fans want. Until the ownership changes, nothing will ever change in this organization, and you should never expect it to. If you do, you're asking for pain and torture. It is a form of self-harm to support this team and wishing for the best year after year after year after year with the same old expectations and falling short on them each and every year. It's like you putting the razor blade into your wrist. I hope and pray for his sake that Justin Fields makes the most out of this year and gets his shit together, and that the coaching learns how to draw up plays that throw the ball more downfield, and maybe, just maybe, one day, the ownership of this godforsaken franchise will change. If it does, it won't be for a very, very long time. Virginia McCaskey, the owner of the Chicago Bears franchise, is currently 100 years old, and her son, the president of the team, George McCaskey, is 67 years old, meaning when she passes, he will more than likely retain the team. I might never see my team win a championship or make a Super Bowl or even make an NFC championship at this rate. I might not even be alive before ownership changes. I might not ever get the opportunity to watch a Bears Super Bowl with my dad in my lifetime, and that fucking sucks. If you're a Bears fan, just know I feel your pain, and I will forever feel your pain with you. I'm sorry you have to go through this. Just know you're not alone. That's it from me, though, chat. Thank you for watching if you're still watching up to this point, and I will most likely see you guys this Saturday. Peace.